Conquest is an art form, but Julius Caesar perfected it. His campaign in Gaul wasn't just about taking land or collecting tribute, it was about cutting out the disease of resistance completely by burning whole towns to the ground. This series will take you to the heart of his 8-year military campaign across Europe. You'll see how he defeated some of the largest armies ever assembled, and you'll discover how he broke his enemies, not just militarily, but psychologically. He terrified them into submission. This is the real Caesar, a man who played for keeps. The Gauls were on the march. They had one goal: to storm the Roman province of Cisalpine Gaul and plunder its undefended cities. The year was 58 BC, and Rome was caught off guard. The only hope was a recently appointed governor, a man with no experience ruling a province, much less going to war against a Gallic horde. His name was Gaius Julius Caesar. While popular in Rome, virtually unknown outside the city, he had a reputation for being reckless and rash. No one expected him to succeed. But Caesar had something they didn't. He had a plan. He would send his 2 experienced generals to deal with the crisis, while he took care of something else. A force of 24,000 Gauls was heading straight for the undefended north. Caesar ordered Publius Crassus to intercept them with 36,000 troops. At the same time, he gave orders to his second-in-command, Lucius Afranius, to stop another incursion from the southeast. With both threats taken care of, Caesar was free to do his own thing, that is to set up a fortified camp near the river Po and raise an army. He was done playing defense. Now he wanted to play offense. Rome had been fighting in the Gallic Wars for years, and everyone thought Caesar was just there to mop up the mess. But he had different plans. In fact, he would become one of the most feared conquerors in history. Let's follow him as he does what nobody thought possible. All roads lead to Ermanum. To reach it, Caesar had to cross a mountain pass guarded by Helvetian forces. This was their last chance to escape, so they planned to fight to the death. What followed was one of the biggest battles in Caesar's career. But when the smoke cleared, the Helvetians were routed and their numbers depleted. The rest fled through the mountains and into northern Italy. It was a stunning victory, and Rome had every reason to celebrate. But Caesar wasn't done yet. He was ready to finish the job. He chased the remaining Gauls into the forest, killing anyone who stood in his way. His soldiers hacked down trees, trampled crops, and left nothing untouched. As the Gauls grew weaker, Caesar grew stronger. He now controlled the Po Valley and threatened to engulf all of northern Italy. The Helvetians had no choice but to surrender. After adding their lands to the spoils of war, Caesar returned to Rome as a hero. His military record was impeccable. His enemies were defeated, and his provinces were safe. Or so everyone thought. The Helvetians may have surrendered, but that didn't mean they were subdued. Caesar knew that to truly conquer Gaul, he had to break their will to resist. But how? Throughout history, there has always been a clear distinction between conquerors and leaders. Conquerors burned everything in sight, leaving behind smoldering ruins and a bitter hatred of their occupier. Leaders built schools, roads, and public buildings, focusing on long-term stability. Caesar understood that neither strategy worked in the long run. There had to be a better way to control unruly subjects, and he soon found it. He laid siege to the rebellious tribes, capturing their towns and enslaving their populations. Then he did something unexpected. Instead of burning the towns to the ground, he rebuilt them and resettled the slaves in other provinces. His brutality was legendary. In one town, he allegedly ordered all the women and children put to death. But his rehabilitation projects were just as famous. He constructed public works, minted new currency, and installed puppet governments. In short, he attempted to remake Gaul in the Roman image. In fact, he even wrote about it. Caesar published a detailed account of his campaigns, emphasizing not just his military victories, but also his efforts at reconstruction. Today we know it as De Bello Gallico, or On the Gallic War. It's part memoir, part propaganda, but 100% fascinating. In it, Caesar reveals his true character. He writes about his compassion for victims of war, but also about his lust for power. Most importantly, he lets us in on how he fought his enemies, often employing psychological warfare to break their will to fight. For instance, he pretended to negotiate peace deals while planning to attack. They were elite fighting machines, well-trained, well-equipped, and fueled by bloodlust. Discipline was everything in the Roman army, and Caesar knew how to keep his men in line. He kept them busy with games, feasts, and most importantly, loot. In fact, after the siege of Alesia, he allowed his soldiers to plunder the captured city. And when they discovered a treasure hoard, Caesar let them keep it. It was a brilliant strategy. His soldiers weren't just loyal, they were greedy. And greed is a powerful motivator. But no matter how strong his legions were, Caesar couldn't conquer Gaul without allies. And he had a few tricks up his sleeve to make them. First, he forged alliances with local chieftains, bribed senators, and even recruited former enemies. Then he employed an ingenious strategy to win the hearts and minds of the Gallic people. He organized festivals, athletic competitions, and gladiator games, all in the name of Rome. In the process, he humanized Rome for the Gauls and made himself their champion. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. Caesar's popularity waned after he raised taxes, levied forced labor, and executed rebel leaders. Still, by the end of his campaign, he had the upper hand. He had defeated Vercingetorix, crushed the major tribes, and pacified most of Gaul. He could finally call himself the conqueror of Gaul, and then something amazing happened. He was declared dictator. For the first time in 175 years, one man had complete control of Rome. Normally, this position would be temporary, but in Caesar's case, it wasn't. He held the title for life. No one could touch him, no one could challenge him. He was invincible. His rule would change Rome forever. He implemented major reforms, distributed public land, and established colonies for veterans. But his enemies plotted in the shadows, waiting for their chance to strike. And when it came, it was swift and brutal. On the Ides of March, Caesar was assassinated by a group of senators. But before they could celebrate their victory, Rome erupted in chaos. Civil wars engulfed the empire, and Caesar's adopted son, Octavian, came out on top. He took the title Augustus and ushered in a new era in Roman history. The Republic was dead, but the empire was just getting started. Caesar's conquest of Gaul is a pivotal moment in world history. It marked the beginning of the end for the Republic and the rise of the empire. But above all, it showed the world what one man can achieve. Caesar was a general, statesman, writer, and most of all, a conqueror. He changed the way we think about war and domination. He was the original master of manipulating his enemies and controlling the minds of men. He was a pioneer in psychological warfare, a master of manipulation, and a genius strategist. He conquered not just by brute force, but by breaking his enemies' will to fight. Caesar was the OG mind hacker. Today, we live in a world where information is power. Being able to read and write is essential for success. It's a superpower. And now, thanks to today's sponsor, anyone can learn to read in just 3 simple steps. Step 1. Get the 100% free app available on iOS and Android. It takes you through a fun, interactive tutorial that makes learning to read in Latin feel like playing a game. Step 2. Practice reading with an experienced tutor. Whether you want to brush up on your skills or learn from scratch, there's no shame in asking for help. Step 3. Immerse yourself in the language. The more you practice, the better you'll become. Reading Latin unlocks a world of knowledge and understanding. It's the key to appreciating history and culture. And now, thanks to today's sponsor, it's easier than ever to learn. Thanks for watching.